Would you like to learn from those that are taking their lives, their businesses, and their passions to the next level? Best-selling author of Speakeasy and master connector Lou Diamond is here to connect you to some of the most inspiring and amazing people on this planet. Get ready to thrive loud with Lou Diamond.
Feels good to see the world getting loose. Feels good to see the world getting loose. Right. I don't know about you, Sack Noel. I don't know about you, Phenom. I don't know about you, White Shadow. I don't know about you, but I feel good.
Welcome everyone
I don't know about you,
back
but I feel good.
to another amazing episode of Thrive Loud with Lou Diamond, connecting you to the most inspiring and amazing people that are thriving each and every day. Today on Thrive Loud, oh man, I'm stoked. I'm really stoked, listeners. You're going to understand why momentarily, because we have a special individual that's been empowering professionals with the skills to communicate clearly, connect authentically, and, as you know, influence action Monday to Monday. She's a Hall of Fame speaker. She's a master of being on brand. You'll see why. And on point all the time. She might break out on stage and do push-ups if you ask her to, but because she can, and she's just ready to flex when she can. But more notably, she is the person you want in your world to elevate your influence. Thrive Loud listeners, it is my honor to bring back on Thrive Loud, Stacey Hanke. Stacey, welcome back to Thrive Loud.
Lou, how do I even top that? You can introduce me anytime, anywhere. I'll take it. But thank you. You're the one that reached out to bring me back, and I am so honored because I know you just celebrated. Was it 1,000 episodes not too long ago? A couple months ago.
Not too long ago. This summer we hit 1,000 episodes, and Stacey's going to earn a patch. She's going to earn what's called the third time guest patch, because Stacey's now here live for the third time. Interestingly, it started off audio only, which had a real big technical issue. We had to do the first one twice, if you remembered when we first met way back when.
I do.
Then we got some cool Zoomy thing that we did, and here we are now in our more up-to-date, more technologically advanced stuff. Mostly because it's very fitting, because this is Stacey's got a big announcement coming up with the new book that's coming out as this episode is dropping today. So if you're watching this on YouTube, if you're catching this on LinkedIn, if you're seeing this in any of your podcast feeds or watching this on any of your social clips, today's a fun day. You have to catch up and do this. Here's what I want to do, Stacey. By the way, it's always so good to see you. And when I say on brand, listeners, you got to see this. Just look carefully. It's always been amazing. I love it. She's got her red, her black, her white. It's either she's wearing, it's her book titles, it's her background, it's her television screen in the background. I mean, just come on. She's just balling. It's just awesome stuff here. I'm always impressed with you. You know that, right? So
I do have other colors, but special conversation like this, it could never show up here in orange.
So this is what we're going to do for the listeners that are not familiar with Stacey, as this episode's in, I don't know, we're in 1,000. Who knows what we're at now? 1,030 something. I've lost track. We've lost track. There's just too many to go by because they're all just amazing. But some of them are really amazing. Like this one's going to be amazing. So Stacey, what I want to do is give the listeners, I'm going to do a little rewind. Let's catch them up, kind of focus on how this new message kind of became the focus of what you needed to share with the world. Can we do that? Can you give everybody a little catch up here? You go.
Yeah. So the catch up is the work has always been around how do you communicate with influence and really increasing individuals' awareness of how much influence do they really have rather than what they believe to be true. This book that gets published today and ready to be launched out there to share with the world, it is 4 years of research of how influence has changed and what we now need to do to truly elevate our influence Monday to Monday. That's really where my area of expertise has sat for 22 years, is I've realized over the years that just because we feel good about our message or we feel comfortable with the people that we're interacting with, or our titles, our years of experience in whatever industry we sit, does not guarantee we have the level of influence that we believe to be true. And that's always been the big trigger question, Lou, that you're very familiar with is, are you really as influential as you think you are? So it's a lot of research, but this book particular has been 4 years of how has it changed in this hybrid world. And it's a lot more complicated now than it ever was. And it was complicated before the last 4 years.
Let's cherry pick a little here. I want to pick some of these little gems out of this. Let's talk about what's really changed The highlights of what's changed the most. Obviously, you make a virtual component and how influential you can be when you communicate. And obviously, we can't always do it in person. And if you've ever gotten a chance, listeners, we'll put links and clips to go watch Stacey present in person, because if you haven't seen it, it's just badass. So what I do want to talk about is, though, there's a way we have to do this Monday to Monday that's different now. So what's different? Let's kick off with that.
There is so much noise because there are so many ways now that we can connect. We are more connected now, Lou, than we ever have, but yet somehow we're disconnected. And the big challenge that we hear from our clients, especially in that leadership role, is how do I manage from afar? But when they say that, they mean how do I connect, build trust? How do I influence consistently? Because you have the complex world of, I'm not just saying virtual interactions, it's the combination of everything. So it's the amount of virtual calls that we're on. How do you break through that fatigue that individuals that you're trying to connect with are now experiencing because of all the virtual conversations they have? It's being consistent with how you show up in all these different platforms, virtual and in person. It's hybrid. You may experience this, your followers may know that they have people that they're trying to connect with virtually, and then they've got people that they see in person. Then you've got the email messages that just have gotten sloppier and less consistency with an email. It's social media posts. That's just the messaging around the noise. But now it's the noise of people that are working out of their homes. There's so much noise in that environment. The fact that there's more noise than ever before, more options for us to connect and engage, it's more difficult to influence Monday to Monday. I think I've always said this, when we went in the virtual platform, we've always seen inconsistencies and distractions when people communicate in person. The camera has magnified it. And it's things like, Lou, I'm sure you've seen it, where someone shows up and you see their ceiling fan, or you see just their head, or there's so much stuff going on in their background, or even worse, they sit here without ever turning their cameras on.
Yeah.
And in the book, I talk about not just the noise that we've created, but now the challenge that creates, most importantly, like my previous books, it's the practicality of how do you connect and engage in a meaningful way. And what we've done, I keep saying we, it's my team and I that help me run this company, is we've always talked about influence in my company. This is about elevating it. So I want you to think of it, it's like a ceiling above what we've known to be true. And it's this elevating influence that people don't even realize exist. And I can tell you, our clients that have really tapped into this idea of elevating their influence significantly, we can go back and track how their productivity has changed, their results. It is a night and day more than ever before. But what I need to do in the book is I had to unveil that, because we don't realize there's this higher level of influence now because of the world that we sit in.
Monday to Monday, I get to press you on this because there's something really interesting about what has also changed. The way we work, right? I mean, let's call it what it is, right? Because a lot of people are not going into the offices on Friday, or they're working in place. There's some are in office 3 days a week, 4 days a week, 5 days a week, whatever it might be. But they're doing different things. But specifically, the way we think about the work week has changed. Let's talk about that aspect in and of itself, because I think a lot of your message on Monday to Monday is how we always need to be and be present, and that connection through how we communicate needs to always happen. But we agree work has changed. Help me understand, help the listeners understand how to even apply the way that we think about work differently and how we can elevate that influentially today.
Right. How you elevate it is, think about how you show up when you're in person. And even if your listeners right now are like, oh, I never go into an office, I am 100% remote. Well, at some point during the day, you're having in-person conversations. I'm just making a guess here. And it might be with the salesperson down the street, your favorite grocery store. It might be someone that you share your space with. When I say Monday to Monday, Lou, the biggest gap between someone who's elevating their influence versus someone who's not is they understand this concept of, if I want to make sure I come across trustworthy, or if I want to make sure I have brevity, you can't have brevity on a Tuesday sales pitch via Zoom. And then on the weekends, brevity, you don't even know what brevity means. Like, it totally disappears. So that's where you've heard me say this before, Lou, I think from a communication standpoint, elevating your influence, that level, you need to think like an athlete. We just had the Olympics this year. Imagine the hours that they have practiced to make that one moment in Paris count. And we miss the connection of that if you really want to hone in on these skills to elevate your influence, you have to do it all the time. Now, I'm not saying you have to be perfect. That's not what this is about. It's about being conscious of how do you show up. You cannot have executive presence. I use that term, Lou, because I get a lot of those requests. Teach our leaders how to have executive presence. You cannot have executive presence if you're not present all the time. Yeah. So this idea of, and I bet you've seen it where I'll get on a call with someone on a Monday and they'll turn it on. I'm like, no. This is how do you show up all the time? So I want you to start thinking like an athlete. And here's the great news. You never have to carve out 1:00 on a Monday to practice how you come across. It's being conscious of every interaction you have is an opportunity to practice. Mm-hmm. And all of that, Lou, there's also a portion in the book, Common Sense Does Not Mean Common Practice. I talk about empathy and warmth. I think we've lost this ability to really communicate like we care. But I talk about how do you do that? And it's through your body language and your messaging. What are you saying? How do you set up a conversation to let that person know you actually care where they're at? And no matter what's going on in your world, you are so present. To me, empathy is being so present into what's happening here that I'm not thinking about the traffic I have to deal with later today in my case, or the kids coming home from school, and what do I have to do with that? And I think that's what's really going to make us stand out, because you don't have to have me on this show. You don't have to sit here and listen to me. So it's my job to make sure that I'm making it worth your time and making it worth your listeners' time.
Listeners need to know, I kind of have to have Stacey on the show because I can't have her come on and then say, no, I can't do it and kick her off. That's not happening. Are you kidding? You have to be here. Our listeners need to hear from you. Come on now. By the way, if you are also doing the math that she said she's been doing this for 22 years, obviously for all those of you questions, she started at the age of 7. So, Stace, influence today. This is a big one. And I mean this. You make a great point about the focus. There's a lot of noise. It's very hard to deliver, and we want to give the presence we need to deliver the influence we need to. Who do you think's doing it really well? Organizations, people, individuals, or generalizations of the people really well? And who needs to be elevating their influence just a little better in your mind?
All right, I'll tackle the first question. And if I forget the second one, please remind me. I can give you examples. There was one just situation a couple of weeks ago. I can't share who the company is, but it's a financial company, and they're going through tons of changes. And they brought me in to train the CEO and his direct executive team. And from the moment they walked in the room, they were so supportive and they were so hungry. They kept saying to me, be tougher on us, give us more feedback. What else can we do? And afterwards, I met with the CEO and I said to him, you're doing something with your leadership style, because I don't see this a lot. And he said to me, no matter what's going on in our company, and financially they're struggling right now, but he said, it's development. If I don't focus on development, nothing matters. And he goes, well, I'll always find the money to focus on development. I think those individuals are the ones that are constantly elevating their influence, is that they know this is a journey. It's never, I went through this training, I check it off. Or some leaders will say to me, well, we've worked hard to get to this position. We're good at what we do. And that leads to your second question, Lou. Those that need it the most are the ones that don't know they need it. And it's a lot of times it's because you get to a certain level in your company and everyone tells you how great you are. And I'm not saying you're not great, but what do you do with that? A lot of times it's you reach a point in your career and people always tell you what you want to hear. And it's those individuals who have never seen themselves through the eyes and ears of their listeners. The feedback is always being sugar-coated. Those are the ones that need it the most. And sometimes it will be the VP of HR will call up and he or she will say, there's someone on their leadership team that they want to promote to be the next COO or the next CFO. They need communication skills training. And we talk through what they need. Then I'll ask the $1 million question, what have you already told them? What feedback have you given them? And they say, well, we haven't. That's why we want you to come in. And I'm like, no. You're going to have the conversation with them first, and then I'm coming in. So it's the we don't know what we don't know, and this lack of self-awareness, or this reliant on if my body feels good, if I feel confident in a situation, I must be influential, or the years of my experience, the financial markets are going really well. If I'm working with a financial company or a hedge fund company, they'll always say that, well, the numbers are doing great. We're doing great. Like, it's more than that.
So I'm with you on this, by the way, that it's the ones who don't know. So let's hit that point. When you're speaking today, bringing this all together and sharing this new method of elevating your influence, or influence elevated, when you speak and you deliver your message today, you get reactions that generate to the audience. There's certain things that are the eyebrows, or those are the ahas. Or when you have to sell your services within your company of what you do, the things that resonate. Right. What is resonating today? What is the message in your work and your message today that is getting the eyebrow raise, is getting the people to say, oh my God, I need to be doing this? What's the thing that's almost like, it's this new updated sizzle reel for Stacey Hanke, that when you see that clip, that's the reason I need to bring her in, because that is the message that's resonating today.
Yeah. The number one is how what my team and I teach and present, how it's more than just for the high stakes meeting or the high stakes presentation. We hear that a lot. How it really is this mind shift of you have to be all in or it will never work. Not to the level that we're talking about really elevating the influence Monday to Monday. That is always number one. The second is still the big shock of the feeling when we communicate is so different to what everyone else is hearing and seeing. And that doesn't mean it's bad. That there's people I work with where they say to me, wow, it's a lot better than I thought. I didn't realize what my strengths were. The third is the practicality, but that ties to number one. I didn't realize that if I'm talking about elevating influence, how it applies to my personal life. I was coaching, he's a controller at another financial company, just wrapped up his mentoring session last week. And at the end of anything that I do, my keynotes, my mentoring, I'll always ask, what is the one thing that really surprised you working with me that also was your greatest benefit? And he said to me, I have a situation with my child that's going to go to high school. She's a freshman, and we're having some conversations. We're having some communication issues. I had no idea how what you teach me has such a greater impact on her, and then a reflection of what I do with my clients. It's the shock of, this is such common sense material, but no one talks about it. Yeah. And yet I do think, Lou, I think it's been given a bigger spotlight because leaders are so struggling still with this virtual world. They're struggling with the hybrid world, and they're struggling with people are not responding to my emails. I can't get people to respond. I can't get people to act. And I'll say to them, it might not be the person you're trying to influence. It could be the experience someone has with you.
Yeah, I'm going to share a little pull the magic behind the curtain. I feel like the Wizard of Oz type thing. A lot of leaders today, to your point, it's not the big presentation, the pitch, the company meeting, the big year-end message, or like the right. sales pitch. It's the one-on-one. And it's if you're not working on elevating your communication in every conversation you have, you're missing out. And one of the ways to do that is actually practicing every single day and do one-on-one. And believe it or not, do it by having a podcast interview. Do it by actually practicing a one-on-one conversation, because we like to joke that, I tell this to professional speakers all the time, treat your podcast interview like it's a keynote. Not in the sense that it's a preparation piece, but it's the energy, it's the message you deliver, it's the brand that you come across, because there's tens of thousands of people watching this particular piece of content. No different than like when you watch, more people will listen to this particular episode then might speak at the next speaking gig you have, even though she has a lot of people that goes to her events. Well, I'm talking about like the mid-sized one, like her company, right? And it'll be out there for longer. So if you're an executive, if you're a leader, you should be practicing these conversations, practice it on podcasts, practice it in your one-on-one meetings with your team. It should be every aspect of what you do every day, so that when you're having a conversation, which is what we're trying to connect with on your big presentation, your big pitch, that's what we want to do. We don't want to make it like this big auditory, like I have to do the show. It should almost come off naturally, because that is the empathy that I think you're trying to tap into. Correct me if I'm wrong, expert Stacey.
It is. Yeah. And that's why I love doing this with, because you totally get all this. We've had so many conversations around this topic, and there's so much buzz around authenticity. And we do in the book, we tie it to empathy, because so many times, one of the questions I'll ask my audiences is, if you could choose 2 adjectives that best describe how you want to be perceived Monday to Monday, what are they? And it's the standard, always come up: authenticity, trustworthy, credible, confident, knowledgeable, all that. When I ask them, well, let's tap into authenticity, what does that look like? And they all just sit there, because how would they know? No one knows. And it's that, I guess where it all started was a couple years ago. One of my coaches said to me, Stacey, if you could answer that question, what do you want your brand to say? He goes, what do you want people, even strangers that it's just a passing conversation, you may never see them again. And I said to him, I just want people to feel like, wow, that I'm not sure what she did, but it just felt good. Right. I was on a plane, go figure. I'm on the plane a couple of weeks ago. And I'm one of those crazy people that's wrapping up a client call as everyone's boarding, right? And I'm just wrapping it up, and they're waiting to board the plane. And there's a businessman. He looked like a businessman. He was in a suit. You don't even see that anymore. And he's standing by me, and I finished the call, and he looks down at me and he says, "You are so kind." And I'm like, I don't know any different. And a lot of that just is my upbringing, and my mom and dad were a lot like that, are a lot like that. But that's where I challenge your listeners. Like, I'm not saying you have to be this perfect, polished communicator. I'm saying, take a look. Like, if it's been a while, and first, I guess, rewind. Let's break it down to 3 steps. What's your why? Like, why do you do what you do? Why do you say what you say? Why do you want people to actually listen and stay connected with you? And then second, be conscious that when you're in a conversation, you can tell, whether it's virtual or in person, you can tell when they're bored. You're driving them crazy, or you're losing them. Usually when we see this, Lou, we start talking faster to try to grab the person's attention. Like, there's so many cues. Or if you don't know, then take it to the third level. Yeah, I'm talking about elevating everything here. If you don't know, stop and just say, Lou, what's your thoughts around that? What's been your experience? And just stop talking. Let that person feel like you actually care. And there's truly, and I'm not perfect, right? I take your advice I look at every conversation I have. I'm practicing to get better, but I can learn from someone else. And there's been a lot of sales calls I'll go on. I've never met this person before. And I'll ask them, what is going on in your culture? What's going on in your team right now that led you to want to listen and meet with me today? And I just let it open. I just let them talk, and I'm thinking, they are feeding me the entire message. And there's been times they'll sell themselves with me barely saying anything. So that's part of empathy, is really listening to figure out what's the right question to ask to dig deeper into this relationship, to build the trust. The idea is you want to build trust as fast as possible, since influence doesn't happen just in one interaction.
It's an interesting challenge that I think leaders have today. And I agree with you. It's the ability to know to ask those questions more often, to understand that less is more. You got 2 ears, 1 mouth, use them proportionally. And that should be every single lesson that any leader should have when they're thinking about elevating influence. They have to be thinking about elevating the person that they're speaking to and connecting with. And at the end of the day, that's where the influence comes from. A great leader is lifting up everybody else, not themselves. They're letting the other people carry them up the way. And that's the reality. And we do this through great conversations, through great communications, and all the stuff that she helps people do Monday to Monday. See, this is why we have Stacey on the program.
It's the feel good, right? I sometimes use the example, Lou, if you're looking for a new doctor, a new dentist, someone that's really a financial planner, and you have two people that you're examining and trying to decide who to partner with, same credentials, everything is almost the same. I would bet on it that the person you decide to build a relationship with is the person that makes you feel good, makes you feel safe. I'm thinking about it because I was just looking for a new doctor, and it came down to that. But the other one actually has a better credentials, but I wouldn't trust them as far as I could touch them. I'm like, no.
I thought she was going to say throw them, because we know she can throw people pretty far. I mean, you got her. She's got good arm strength. Stace, you have given the world a lot of gifts in the content you create, the messages you create, the work you do at Stacey Hanke Inc. with your companies, the books you've given out. But this specific new book that's just come out, that's dropping today, is a gift you're giving to the world. Yet there's always a happy accident that happens, Stacey, and that's that the content creator receives a gift in return for creating that content. Stacey, what's the happy accident that you received in putting out this amazing new book to the world?
At this point in my career, it's the feedback that I get from it. I had a lot of people look at it beforehand, and the research that's in the book, it's research, comments from our clients. I had someone reach out the other day that did an endorsement, and he's pretty high up and I'll just share it. He's at Nationwide, and he's a president over there. And he sent me a text message. He's like, when is that book coming out again? I just got a glimpse of it, but I want to dive in deeper. It's knowing that I know I don't do brain surgery, but what I do know is that communication is such a make or break to everything that we do. So for people to read the book, whether it's one chapter at a time or it's just a few chapters, and to be able to come back and say, because of this concept, this takeaway, I now am the next CFO. I now have a stronger relationship with my children, whatever it is. And to really just open up people's eyes to say, it's never too late to focus on you first. And just want to make it a better, I would love to say, make it a better world, because we've seen so many bad communicators and people that just come across as they don't care. Just make a change, and you're the first person that can do that, whether that's with your family, your friends, your network, your circle, or the employees that you are leading.
Stacey, let's do the plug section here before we have a mini version of Fun Street, even though Stacey and I have fun all the time. Okay. Share with the listeners all the places people can find you, websites, URLs, social handles, where they can grab the book. It will be in the show notes, but it always gets more engagement when they hear it from you.
Thank you. Let's just highlight it then. Obviously, Amazon. You're also going just to our website where there's more than just that new book as far as resources. It's my full name, Stacey with an EY, HANKEINC.com. We play heavily where we're posting a lot of resources in LinkedIn and Instagram, probably our two biggest pieces. But go on the website. There's a lot of complimentary resources in addition to checking out if the book is someplace you also want to start.
Well, that was easy. Check it out, StaceyHankeInc.com. All right. And by the way, lots of new headshots and stuff. You'll see it on the podcast artwork here. It's like totally refreshed and updated. It looks spectacular.
Thank you.
Do. It's always good to have.
You're very kind.
3 simple questions to put a bow on this show here. We're going to start off with, what's an activity you wish you did more of?
Hiking. We're going, actually, we're leaving soon. When this is being broadcast, we're leaving in 4 days, and we're going on this 6-day hiking trip. Like, there's just something about nature and throwing out a challenge of trying to hike when I'm ready to pass out. There's just something invigorating about that. So that's what I wish I did more of.
An activity you wish you did less of?
Checking emails. Is that that an activity?
That's a phenomenal activity that you wish you did less. Because people, emails or scrolling their phones seems to be the number one thing.
I wish I would, especially when I'm alone and I'm traveling. I fall into the habit, too much social media time. I need to reduce that activity.
A new activity you recently tried that you like so much you want to tell everybody else to try?
A new activity?
Something new to you. One you've recently tried. Something new. It was so much fun. You're going to tell all our listeners and viewers that they should try it too.
I don't know if this is a new activity. Well, I live right in Chicago. I am 4 blocks from the United Center. And you can imagine the amount of concerts that come to United Center. The fact that I break away during the week is a big deal for this one, to actually walk over there and just take more advantage of the music over there and the many events that are over there. So I guess that means stepping outside of what is just the norm and playing more than I have in the past couple of years.
I like it. Everybody check it out. Influence Elevated. The book. Stacey Hanke. We're going to have to get her the patch 3rd time on here. She's going to get this Thrive Loud patch. She's going to have no idea what to do with it. I don't know if she's going to put it on a jacket.
Love it.
But what we may have to do is we may have to brand it in red, black,
and white.
I think that's what I think we're going to have to do.
Then I'll wear it.
Yeah, I think we're going to have to, like, maybe we'll make the little Thrive Jack in the red, and we'll do the I've got some ideas that we can do.
I love it. Thank you
God.
so much for bringing me back, Lou. Thanks for your longtime trust and friendship. Thank you.
Absolutely. And listeners, go check her out. She's the real deal, and she's awesome. Stacey Hanke, truly a pleasure to have you on. Thanks for coming. To all the listeners out there, thank you for joining us. Until next time, keep moving onward and upward. And remember, be brief, be bright, be gone.
I'm drinking out the bottle, hanging with supermodels, feel like I hit the lotto. I don't know about you, but I feel good. I don't know about you, but I feel good. I don't know about you, but I feel good. I don't know about you, but I feel good.
You've been listening to Thrive Loud with your host, Lou Diamond. Check us out on the web at thriveloud.com and follow us on Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, and Facebook at Thrive Loud. And check us out on the Good Pods app at Thrive Loud, where you can follow, listen, and connect directly to Lou and all of the Thrive Loud episodes. Thanks for listening.